What does a good culture eat for breakfast? Find out in this episode of Coffee Cup Coaching. Hi, it's Pete Cohen. Welcome to this episode of Coffee Cup Coaching. So, what does a great culture in your organization eat for breakfast? I'll tell you, your strategy and your goals. I've worked in organizations all over the world for many years, and I can tell you one of the biggest debates that organizations have is what's more important, the strategy or the culture? I don't know, what do you think? I personally believe it's all about culture. You get that right, and you really have a chance to do some great things in organizations. And today in this episode, I want to explain to you how you can start to build a better culture in your business, and also to give you an enhanced perspective of why this is so important. You're also going to be hearing from John Sellins, who is the operations director for the Football Association, and hear one of his stories of how they changed the culture in a business which really needed a change. So when it really comes to culture, what does that actually mean? A good culture. For me, a good culture is where something can grow, something can happen. And organizations are all too often obsessed about the strategy and the marketing plan. And look, I want to explain it to you like this. So all businesses have goals, right? Goals, targets, things that they're aiming towards. And of course, that's absolutely essential. But it's even more important because when you understand that how human beings are engineered, we are all engineered in such a way where we are teleological. That's what the Greeks called it, meaning target orientated. So if you think of like an archer is going towards a target, a goal. And what does he need? He needs a bow and he needs an arrow. Now, if you think of the arrow as let's take the head of the arrow here. The head of the arrow is your strategy. That is your strategy. But of course, that on its own ain't going to go nowhere. If you just try and fire that, what's going to happen? No, of course, you need something that's aerodynamic, and you really need what's at the end here, which is called fletching, believe it or not, which is the feathers. This is your culture. That is your culture. It's the culture that makes your strategy move. Now, of course, that's really obvious. But what we often don't realize, if we don't get our culture right, and this is what I've seen in organizations everywhere, is this kind of them and us. There's no connection. There often is, but it's not a great connection. And you tend to have where people maybe don't feel valued and appreciated, and they don't really see their part in making this happen, that you can have dishonesty. You can have what's called discretionary effort, where people aren't really giving the best of themselves. And the knock-on impact of any business is that means that this thing can go up and down. Normally it's going to go down. But if you have a culture that is built on trust, you have culture that is built on people actually listening and caring and people feeling like they have a valued place in an organization, it makes the strategy much more likely to be achieved. People take ownership of what is actually happening here. And I believe that leaders really need to get their head around this and just go to work on culture and asking questions. I think sometimes we are scared as people with influence and people who lead others to actually have conversations with our culture, with our people, because that is where the culture comes from, and ask them, how does it actually feel to work in this business? None of this is rocket science, but we know that there's never been a more important time than right now in terms of inspirational leadership. When we look around the world and we see how some people have managed to get themselves into power and the influence they can have on people, and that's not all positive, I can tell you. We need leaders to become inspiring leaders by really focusing on building a great culture from the inside out. But look, you don't just have to hear it from me. Over the last couple of years, we've been interviewing some incredible leaders, and many of these people are unsung heroes because they don't crave the limelight. All they're interested in is building the culture and bringing forth the next generation of leaders. And I invite you right now to listen to one of those people. His name is John Sellins, and John is the operations director for the Football Association. And in the video below, he talks about his experience of when he worked for a company that basically looked after some big exhibition centers in London, and they had some big challenges there, massive challenges, and they needed a cultural shift. Otherwise, the business was just going to fall apart. Enjoy that. Take some time to really think about what could you do as a leader, or perhaps you're just in a business, and what impact could you have on the culture to make it a better place to work, so the strategy is achieved and the goals and the dreams and the ambitions of organizations are realized. Look, thank you so much for all of your contribution and your likes and your comments to our articles. We really appreciate it, and we invite you to continue this debate. I believe that when great people come together and they support each other, some amazing things can be achieved. And if you've got a story to tell about how you've turned the culture around in your business, let us know. We would love to know, to get your story out there. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next time for another Coffee Cup Coaching video. But right now, take a look at Mr. John Sellins. Take care and have a great day.